Greetings, everyone. Woohoo! Okay, well, it's Wednesday, and it's a reminder to do whatever it takes to get you from where you are to where you want to be. And you can apply this principle in your life, in your business, in your workouts, anywhere. It's super important because if we can think about some reasons, like let's say that you know we sit down and we're looking at, where are we with our 2024 goals and objectives. I realize some people don't refer to them as goals. I use goals as milestones, as markers. Some people don't like to set goals. I'm really not talking to the people that don't like to set goals. I'm talking to the people that believe in setting goals, in putting things out there, so that you hold yourself accountable. And if you have a mentor or if you've hired a coach, that those people can also help to hold you your to help you hold yourself accountable as well. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's up to you. Every day begins and ends with you. So no one is going to take 100% responsibility to get you where you want to be besides you. So I wouldn't wait around. Okay. I would not wait around. I would take action every day, getting closer to where it is that you want to be, closer to your goals. And we all know that if we are, if it doesn't matter if we're working for a corporation and we're working on their goals, of course, our goals have to, funnel in there. If you're building your own business, if you are a founder or a CEO that has maybe a small team and you are looking to get a bigger team, then every day, as you know, there needs to be consistent action. Some days you may feel like you're getting more done than other days, but that's the way that it is, right? In the world, ebbs and flows. However, before you lay your head down on the pillow every night, ask yourself some very basic questions. As far as, what am I happy about? What was I able to do to move the needle to get me closer to where I want to be? Those goals, for the people that set goals, those goals need to be top of mind. You need to have those available on your phone, in your notes section, maybe as your screensaver. You need to have those goals available so they are top of mind. You know, you can even use sticky notes. I do that with revenue goals so that I am keeping those in front of me. So there are no excuses. But back to the accountability, it's really up to you to make sure that you are doing what you need to do on a daily basis to move the needle to get your company to where you need to be. Okay. If you don't do anything different, then it's not, it's going to take longer or it's not going to happen. Consistent effort, consistent actions, super important. Okay. And today's theme, whatever it takes, Wednesday, but is obviously applied to any day of the week. We have to really develop that mindset that we are going to do whatever it takes to get to that goal. And that's where some people fall short. They get distracted. They're doing things that they shouldn't be doing that, is not moving the needle. They're working on maybe it's, uh, maybe they're spending days working on a book that they want to publish, don't do that during revenue producing hours. That's not good. You need to do that kind of stuff in the non-revenue producing hours. During the revenue producing hours, you need to be on live streams. You need to be in front of people, teaching them, you know, even if it was just one thing. In order to get myself used to doing lives, I've been doing lives since 2016. I told myself if I can just get on there and if I can just help one person to maybe think about something differently, to try a new strategy, then that is what pushed me to start doing consistent lives. Because, you know, I really grew up as an introvert. I was very shy. I really didn't even like to hear myself talk. My first job was in a retail store, and of course, I had to talk to people because I worked. I had two roles. My first real job, like an establishment, it was at a GC Murphy's. So I wore an orange house dress. I so wish I had pictures of myself, but I didn't. The time that I wore it, I didn't like it. So, but I was very bright because you could see me from across the store in my orange house dress with the buttons down the front. Maybe you can relate. So, I worked behind the counter serving hot dogs and French fries. It was a cool counter. It was like like an old fashioned soda counter, and then I also worked as a retail clerk. That's what my role was called. So when I worked as a retail clerk, I was wearing, regular street clothes. All right. And, but I always had to change. Like if I was working after school, which I didn't do too many of those because I had after school activities and I was also a runner. I did track and cross country. So I had limited shifts that I took during the week, but on the weekends, I would work at GC Murphy's especially. But anyways, if I did take any shifts during the week, I had to make sure I changed into street clothes because I wore a uniform at the high school that I went to. But my point is, I really didn't like when I got on the microphone and I had to make an announcement, or if I needed to call for a manager, I would get so nervous, my heart would beat fast. I grew up with the belief of, children should be seen, not heard. And I kind of took that to the other limit. Now, I mean, of course, I learned to speak in classes. I was very active in speech class. I learned how to give presentations, of course, but my nature was more introverted and shy. Then, when I got out in my first job after college in corporate America, I had no choice but to come out of my shell, so to speak, because I wouldn't have been able to make sales if I was quiet. I had to learn to talk on the phone. I had to learn to talk in person. I had to learn to speak to groups of people in boardrooms. So, coming from the person, me, who was even shy and my heart would be fluttering and beating fast, even talking with one person, let alone, 11 around a table. So if I can learn it, you can too. And here's what I do know: we cannot build our businesses if we're in sales for somebody else. We cannot get sales. We cannot, meet and exceed our quotas. We cannot build our businesses if people don't see us and hear us. So, if we want to earn more revenue and recognition, then we need to make sure that we get ourselves out in front of our ideal prospects. I was very excited earlier because one of my clients who has a community of over 40,000 individuals ask me to host his mastermind call because he was out of town. I was super excited. Like I said, this is a client of mine. I actually do adjunct coaching for him, and I've been working with him for almost 3 years. Absolutely love his community. So I hosted his mastermind. One of the questions we had was, what do you do when you get ghosted? Great question. I hear this question often. Now, how I answer it is I go back in time to how did I feel when I was getting ghosted. Now, when I was first getting ghosted, they didn't even call it that. Um, when I was first getting ghosted, I think it was more like, uh, you would hear people say, "Oh, they, fell off the face of the earth," or they're unavailable. They've been in a black hole, kind of thing. But a lot of my gosh, it's like they just evaporated, or they're not returning my calls, uh, or they missed a meeting, whatever the case is. If you are getting ghosted, you need to make the decision that it's not because of you. Okay. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because, and I am going to share some caveats. Okay. But if you showed up and you were present for that person, let's say, I think we need to have like a scenario here, because I want you to be able to grasp these ideas clearly. And this is all we're going to talk about. It's already been 12 minutes. So, for whatever it takes Wednesday, I'm going to be just focusing on this ghosting thing. Okay. But like I said, when I first got ghosted, it was not called that. It was called like, oh, they fell off the face of the earth, or they just disappeared, or they blew me off, kind of thing. Like that's the thing, right? That's how I used to think of it. Now, provided, let's say you did a discovery call or strategy call, it's best to call it something that is really related to the results that you're giving them. Like, let's say if you were, you were in technical sales and you were building their tech stack. So, whatever you call that discovery call, if you showed up for that and you asked the right questions, you were able to give them some actionable advice. Everybody runs these calls a little bit differently, but let's just say you helped them identify what their next best step is, and at the end you said, you ask, "Would you like my help with that?" And they said yes. Okay. That does not mean 110% that they are going to become a client. So don't jump to that conclusion. But if they said yes, be excited, be grateful, and move them to the next step. Don't think that they're definitely going to become a client. I totally understand. I love to think positive and I love happy, but in reality, I can tell you, the number of clients that I've worked with over the years, things don't always work out. So you want to be positive. You want to show up for that strategy call. You want to be 110% focused on that prospect, nobody else, focused on that prospect and how you can help them. Identify what they need and where they want to be. And then, if you feel that you can help them, then you can give them an actionable step or let them know what's the next step after if you ask the question, "Would you like my help with that?" Then you move them to the next step. All of your prospects need to be following a journey so that when you're asking them to take the next step, when there's a call to action, you can, without hesitation, let them know what that next step is so they can decide if they want to take it or not, right? So what I was saying was you need to not take on that responsibility of getting ghosted, meaning do not put that burden on your shoulders. If it is on your shoulders, get it off your shoulders. Okay. As long as you showed up, you were present, as long as you did what you said you were going to do, then it's not on you, it's on them. Okay. Now, it's a different discussion. I'm not getting into that. I don't have time to get into that today, and maybe we will get into that. But if you didn't show up, if you didn't show up 110%, if you missed any calls or meetings, or if you promised them something and you did not deliver, then some of that ghosting could be your responsibility. But if you showed up with the intention of helping them, if you told them what you were going to do and did what you said you did what you said you were going to do, then it's not on you. The reason why this is important is every day, not just on Wednesdays, we need to do whatever it takes. All right. But we cannot be bogged down and feeling burdened by other people ghosting us. If we are in a service position and we are selling our services or products, it doesn't matter what it is. Okay. Your role is to show up, serve, and sell. Okay. You cannot do that if people don't hear you and see you. You and if you are working for someone else, you won't keep that job because people need to see and hear you. And you need to be enrolling people. You need to constantly be enrolling people and qualifying people as prospects. Okay. But my point is, do not take on, if you showed up and you served and you made them the invitation to move forward, do not take on that burden. So in the particular, in that one question that was asked, the coach was very upset, with just reason. I totally get it, because she said that they just ghosted her after she put the proposal together. So here's another tip for that: do not send any proposals, statements of work, whatever it is that you call it, unless you've had that discussion, at least a ballpark of how much it's going to be. Okay. Now, I'm not telling you to do something that is, if your boss told you that you need to send proposals out without talking to the prospect, then you have to do that. Okay. But if you are in the position where you can choose, I would recommend that you do not send proposals out with the investment unless you have had that discussion with them. Because what I learned several years ago, and this actually goes back to my AT&T days when I was selling phone systems, and then I switched over. I was with AT&T for 15 years. I switched over to the network side, and what I noticed was it was too much of a surprise if I didn't give them some kind of a ballpark. Some of them went along with it, okay, and they were fine, but they had the budget for it. Other ones, because we didn't talk about a ballpark, they may have thought that it was a lot less than what it is. Now, of course, there were some, different variables that played into this, and I, needed to get, my teams involved. I needed to get New Jersey involved in a lot of cases because that's where our corporate headquarters were, and sometimes I didn't even know, what the ballpark was. But I realized that if I didn't give them a range of maybe what past customers, some kind of a comparison, and I always tried to keep it as high as possible, so that there wouldn't be any surprises. Because obviously, if I told them that it would be between, a half a million and 750,000, and then it comes in at 1 million, well, then that's on me, and that isn't going to move forward, chances are, because I totally was off the mark. But if you give them, an approximation, you know, then you can get down to the real numbers. But anyways, I if you can, I would recommend that you have a discussion with people so that you can frame out, you need to make sure that you're on the same page with them. If you're selling services, you need to make sure that during that strategy discovery call, whatever you call it, that you are on the same page. Okay. Because if you're thinking that you're going to propose, $10,000 for an investment for them, and they're thinking that your services are 2,000, okay, that $8,000 is too big of a gap. Even if you have a down sell, I'm just telling you, if they think it's 2,000 and you already know that you're coming in at 10, you need to have that conversation so that it's not a big surprise. And then that's when sometimes people ghost. Sometimes people ghost because they are overwhelmed. Sometimes they ghost because they've got too many things on their plate. They've got too many projects. They're juggling everything. And that's why I say, if you show up to your client strategy or discovery call and you are bringing 110% of no one else is important at that point. Seek to serve, have a discussion. They can know exactly what some people will ask. They'll be very transparent and they'll be like, well, if we were to work together, what would you have in mind for me? And then that's easy because that opens the door. Then you can explain to them, you can ask them some questions, which is important. You need to know exactly where they are. And then you can simply say, based on what we've talked about, this is what I would recommend for you. It would be important that we get you seen and heard by your ideal audience. And we also need to build the back end systems for your tech stack so that you can have the automated follow up and you can have all the tools that you need at this time to be able to scale your business. So you can give them an approximate idea and then test that to see, is that something that they would even accept? Okay. Don't assume that they are going to accept that and they're going to say yes to whatever amount that you say. And then if you go back and write a proposal without talking with them, at least ballpark, then it's on you. You've wasted your time. No, look, you can learn from that time. But we cannot assume if we don't have that discussion because it comes to the like meeting in the middle. They may only have a budget for 2,000 and you're saying it's 10,000. Well, then if you still want to work together, if you have a downsell, then you can propose that. But you don't need to waste your time preparing something that may be a no go. Now, if you ask them and you say, would you consider? I understand that you were thinking that it would be 2,000. Well, would you consider establishing a budget for something more like 10,000? And if they say yes, then you can proceed with that. But if they say no, it's just I don't have the budget or I need to get the budget, then you need to know where you stand at all times. Okay. So if you get ghosted, what I would recommend is that you still stay in touch with them. Now, that doesn't mean that you're still pitching all your services. You don't have to do that every time you stay in touch with them, but put them on a nurturing sequence so that you can say hello to them. You can text them, can say happy spring, like yesterday was the first day of spring. You can say, I'm wishing you a happy and blessed weekend. You can send them a text and say, how are you? And then maybe every third time, you could say, how's business? Or, I was thinking about you the other day because we talked about you enrolling into our accelerator program. Has that crossed your mind lately? Would you like to have another discussion about that? And let them answer. But getting back to what I was saying about ghosting, if you showed up and you were 110% focused on them, you gave them an actionable step. This is how I conduct my calls. And uh, you showed up, you were there, you did everything you said you were going to do. Okay. Now, let me explain that if you're running behind, okay, let them know, inform them that you're running behind. If you need 2 more days to get that statement of work together, because you've had some other client deadlines or some other deliverables, at least let them know, from my team and I, it's going to take a couple more days to get that together for you. But the conversation should have already been had so that it's not a complete surprise to them how much you're proposing that they're going to spend. Things don't just magically happen like that. Most people don't have an unlimited budget for their companies. Okay. There, maybe the rare ones do, but even if they did have more of an unlimited budget, chances are they wouldn't, spend it just in an unlimited fashion, because if they are, if they are solid business owners and successful leaders, they're fiscally responsible. So they are just not going to give you whatever it is you ask for in most cases. Doesn't matter how much value, how much they like you, how much they trust you. You need to be, you need to have the understanding that, you have to be on the same page. So even though they know, like, and trust you, you have to make sure that, that everything's justified, so that, the breakdown of the services, the bonuses, and everything like that are clearly stated. But it shouldn't come as a surprise to your prospect, to your potential client, is what I'm getting at. Okay. So I know we need to wrap up here because it's already been 27 minutes, but ghosting, put them on a nurturing schedule. And, back years ago, it used to be, they used to say, it was like 7 to 9 touches before, before someone became a client, before someone enrolled in your program. I've read some more recent research that indicates that it's more like 17 to 19 touches. I'm not surprised because we have so many different connection points. So that's actually a positive because we have more opportunities to connect. So what I was telling the coach today was, if you did get ghosted, like she did after she delivered the proposal, she had no discussion with that client. So the client didn't really know what exactly I don't think she did what exactly the amount was, but in most cases, that's usually what happens. Is they were not fully aware of it, or they just got distracted. Perhaps her client was aware of the cost. That's fine, but maybe they just got distracted. Maybe there was another priority that superseded that. Now, is it right that people just don't respond and they don't ghost? No, but I mean, we can't really judge. We don't know. We're not walking in their shoes. So stop waiting around. And if they have blown you off, like I can relate to in the past, or if they have ghosted you, put them on a nurturing sequence. Connect, send them a message on LinkedIn. Send them texts if you have their mobiles. You don't have to say, "Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready?" Because at this point, they've kind of told you that they're not ready. So maybe every third message you can mention it, but I would just, stay in touch with them. Stay in touch. Stay in front of them. I hope this was helpful. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you're willing to do. And I wanted to wish you a happy and blessed whatever it takes Wednesday.